You panic when people ignore you. You overthink every rejection. Every bad opinion destroys your peace. And Marcus Aurelius would look at that and say, then your mind does not belong to you, because the man who needs constant approval becomes a slave to everyone around him. But the moment you stop needing validation, attention, and comfort from the world, something dangerous happens. You become fearless. And in this video, you will discover why Seneca believed the man who needs nothing can never be controlled. Rule 1. Stop needing everyone to understand. Most people destroy themselves trying to be accepted. They explain too much, seek approval too much, and quietly abandon who they really are just to fit into rooms that never respected them in the first place. Because deep down, they are terrified of rejection, terrified of being judged, terrified of standing alone. And Marcus Aurelius would say that is exactly why they suffer. Because the moment your peace depends on another person's opinion, your emotions no longer belong to you, they belong to everyone else. And that is how weak people become controlled without even realizing it. One compliment makes them feel valuable. One criticism makes them feel worthless. And rejection destroys their confidence for weeks. Because their entire identity is built on validation instead of inner strength. And modern life makes this even worse. Social media turned attention into a drug. People are performing every day, pretending to be happy, successful, confident, while secretly feeling empty inside because their self-worth depends on how strangers react to them. And Seneca warned people about this kind of emotional slavery centuries ago, because the person who constantly needs approval will eventually betray themselves just to keep receiving it. They will tolerate disrespect, fake friendships, toxic relationships, and humiliation simply because they are afraid of losing connection. But the Stoic understands something most people never learn. Loneliness is not the enemy, self-abandonment is. And there is a massive difference between being alone and being empty, because the strongest people learn how to stand comfortably in their own presence without needing constant noise or reassurance. And that ability creates psychological freedom, because once you stop chasing validation, people lose the ability to manipulate your emotions. Suddenly, criticism stops controlling you, rejection stops terrifying you, and silence stops feeling uncomfortable, because now your confidence comes from self-respect instead of external attention. And this is why Stoic men appeared so calm under pressure. They were not emotionally dependent on the crowd. They did not wake up needing applause to feel worthy. They already knew their values internally. And when you reach that mindset, something powerful changes. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop forcing connections that drain your peace. You stop shrinking your personality just to avoid making others uncomfortable. Because real confidence is not loud. It is the quiet ability to remain yourself even when people disagree with you. And honestly, most people never experience this freedom because they spend their entire life trying to be liked by everyone, which is impossible. Marcus Aurelius himself was criticized despite being emperor of Rome, and that proves something important. No matter who you are, somebody will misunderstand you, judge you, dislike you, or doubt you. So building your identity around public approval is one of the most dangerous psychological traps imaginable. Because crowds are unstable, opinions change constantly, and the people cheering for you today may ignore you tomorrow. But self-respect lasts longer than public validation ever will. And the moment you realize you do not actually need everyone to understand you, fear begins disappearing from your life. Rule 2, Train yourself to live with less. Modern people are terrified of discomfort, terrified of silence, terrified of boredom, because comfort became their addiction. And the problem with addiction is simple. Once something controls your happiness, it controls your behavior too. And Seneca understood this deeply, which is why he constantly practiced living with less, even though he was wealthy. Because he never wanted luxury to weaken his mind. And that lesson is brutally important today, because most people are emotionally dependent on comfort without realizing it. They panic when life becomes difficult. They collapse under pressure. They cannot handle uncertainty, because they trained themselves to only function when conditions feel perfect. But life does not work that way. Eventually pain comes, rejection comes, failure comes, loss comes. And the people addicted to comfort mentally break the fastest because they never developed resilience. They spent their entire life escaping struggle instead of learning from it. And that is exactly why Stoics trained themselves through discomfort. Cold weather, simple food, silence, isolation, because hardship sharpens the mind in ways comfort never can. And Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that external luxury means nothing if the mind itself remains weak. Because a weak mind will still feel empty, even inside a palace, while a disciplined mind can remain peaceful even during chaos. And honestly, you can see this everywhere today. People with money still anxious, successful people still depressed, famous people still emotionally broken, because external success cannot fix internal instability. And the more attached someone becomes to comfort, status, and pleasure, the more terrified they become of losing it, which creates constant anxiety. But the Stoic man becomes dangerous because he trains himself mentally to survive without excess, without validation, without constant entertainment. And once you know you can survive with little, fear starts disappearing from your life. Because now nobody can threaten you with loss anymore. And that changes your energy completely. You stop acting desperate. You stop tolerating disrespect just for security. You stop betraying your values to maintain comfort. Because peace becomes more important than possessions. And that mindset creates unbelievable confidence. Not fake loud confidence, real grounded confidence. The kind built through discipline and self-control. And the truth is, most people never experience that because they are constantly distracted, constantly consuming, constantly running from silence, because silence forces them to face themselves honestly. But Stoicism teaches that the strongest man is the one who remains calm without needing constant stimulation from the world. And once you build that inner stability, people feel it immediately, because calm, disciplined energy stands out in a world addicted to chaos. And that is why Seneca believed the man who needs little fears little, because fear grows from attachment, and attachment grows from dependency. Rule 3, accept loss before life forces you. To most people spend their entire life trying to avoid loss, avoid pain, avoid rejection, and because of that they become controlled by fear every single day. Fear of failure stops them from taking risks. Fear of abandonment makes them desperate in relationships. Fear of embarrassment keeps them silent. And slowly, their entire personality becomes built around protection instead of courage. But Seneca taught something most people are too emotionally weak to accept. Everything you love is temporary. Your money, your reputation, your relationships, even your own body. And the sooner you accept that reality, the more peaceful your life becomes. Because fear loses power the moment you stop pretending life owes you permanence. And Stoics trained themselves mentally for this reality every day, not to become negative, but to become stronger. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that loss is part of existence, because he understood something deeply psychological. Suffering becomes unbearable when reality clashes with expectation. And modern people suffer constantly because they expect certainty from a world that guarantees nothing. They expect people to stay forever, success to remain forever, comfort to last forever, and when life changes, they emotionally collapse because they built their identity around temporary things. But the Stoic man prepares himself mentally before difficulty arrives. And that preparation creates calmness under pressure. Because what can truly terrify someone who already accepted change as part of life? And this mindset changes everything. Rejection hurts less because you expected uncertainty. Criticism loses power because your identity no longer depends on praise. Failure becomes temporary instead of catastrophic. Because now your peace comes from your response to events instead of the events themselves. And honestly, this is why Stoic philosophy feels so powerful today. Because modern society made people emotionally fragile. One breakup destroys their identity. One bad opinion ruins their confidence. One difficult season makes them hopeless because nobody taught them how to mentally endure hardship. But Seneca believed resilience is built through acceptance, not avoidance. And the people who become fearless are not the ones with perfect lives. They are the ones who stop resisting reality. Because resistance creates suffering, while acceptance creates strength. And once you deeply understand that loss is inevitable, something strange happens psychologically. You stop clinging so tightly. You stop acting desperate. You stop trying to control everything. And instead you become calmer, wiser, more grounded. Because your peace no longer depends on life behaving exactly how you want it to. And that is true emotional freedom. Most people spend their whole life trying to control the world around them, trying to hold on to approval, comfort, relationships, status, and certainty. But Seneca understood something deeper. The more you desperately need external things, the more fear controls your life. Because anyone who can take those things away gains power over you. But the moment you master yourself internally, the moment you become comfortable with solitude, discomfort, and uncertainty, something powerful happens. You become emotionally untouchable. And maybe that is why Stoic men seem so calm even during chaos. Because their peace was never built on temporary things in the first place. It was built inside themselves. If this video changed the way you see life, then subscribe to Stoic Spark. Press the bell icon for future videos. And remember this: the man who masters his mind can never be controlled.